This is for our fiscal year 26-27 request application technical assistance webinar for the CERT Citizen Core program.
Does it work?
If you'll go ahead and make certain that you are muted. We're doing a mute real quick. Okay. So if you'll go ahead and hit, do I have the thing or you? Slide. Okay. So if everyone will go ahead and make sure you're muted your lines to ask questions during our webinar, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand. If you don't know how to do that, there should be a little hand raise at the top of your Teams. You'll see where it says chat people, then hand raise. If you'll do that so we know that you have a question. We will have a section at the very end of this webinar for questions and answers. So that will absolutely be available to you as well. And then just so everyone knows, this recording will be available after. So Friday is when I have it templated to go out by close of business on the Volunteer Florida website. So if you missed something, you want to rewatch it, it will be available on our Volunteer Florida website. Without further ado, my name is Robin Bridges. I am the Deputy Director, Emergency Management here at Volunteer Florida and your State Program Manager for CERT program. Thank you all for joining us. We have a huge crowd. I'm super excited about this. Let's go straight into it. So our overview of our CERT program. We are anticipating giving $100,000 for this grant. It is to be used for, again, that disaster preparedness training and and education needs of Floridians through the CERT and Citizen Core programs. Excuse me. Minimum grant request is $5,000. If you ask for less, your application will not even be reviewed. So it is $5,000 minimum up to $10,000. Applicants can apply for both CERT and a Citizen Core grant. So, you can apply for two separate, but you will have to do separate applications for those. Grant period of performance will be July 1st through May 31st. So again, that is where our grant year, the start of that grant again will begin in July and go all the way to May 31st. Thank you. To be eligible for this grant that we are offering, your organization, again, must be a county or city within the state of Florida. You have to be, can be fire tax district, regional planning council, state-supported community college, colleges, universities, or federal recognized tribes. I do want to make this note, you guys can see it right on here, that again, nonprofit organizations are not eligible. However, if a local jurisdiction, which is a sponsoring agency for CERT, does want to subcontract, they can. But again, you will need to refer back up to be a county, city, within the state of Florida, regional planning council, state-supported community college, those to apply. If you are a CERT team, make sure you are reaching out to, because I know that several program managers are on here, that you're reaching out to your program director of the sponsoring agency for this application. Previous grant recipients. So let's talk about that. You are eligible to apply for the 26-27. There will be a gap of 1/4 overlap. We'll talk about that in just a moment. You to be eligible for those current grantees that are on here, you must have completed all of your paperwork and be in good standing. So that means you've done your quarter reports, you've done your per expenses. Previous CERT grantees or Citizen Core grantees, your performance will be looked at. Did you spend the full 100% in the last time that you applied with us? Were you on time with your reports? All of that will be taken into consideration when reviewing your application. The next slide right here shows for current grantees. I know there are several of you on board. So the current grantees, you can apply. You will have another section that you will have to answer. So it's additional questions on the application. So if you haven't opened our application for this year, there's a whole page of just current grantees that you have to answer. Important things I need to talk about with this, because I know you guys can read this. This is a grant match grant, so your cash or in-kind or volunteer match that you're using, if you're a current grantee, you have that overlap quarter. You cannot use the same hours, however you're doing your match for this year's current grant and then the one that you're applying for 26, 27. So you will have to have complete different documentation. Okay. Also, for those current grantees, you will have to have spent 50% of your award prior to the application. That being said, you are applying during Q3 of your current grant. So as long as you can show that you have spent it, there is in that section we talked about the application, you will have to show that you have expensed that out. There's questions about that. I'm happy at the end to go through that. You will also have to be in full compliance with your per quarterly and then your closeout reports. So, okay, so we'll go on to the next slide. Okay, what our grant, thank you. What our grant will be covering, just so when you're developing your application and you're saying, hey, I want to apply for this, your funding basically objectives should be planning for CERT Citizen Corps, a whole community approach that you have strategic, you have operational, you have community approach for your preparedness. So if you're doing preparedness activities, you're putting that in there. So that would be a planning objective. Another way would be for the organization. Maybe you're a new CERT, maybe you're a new Citizen Corps. So you could, as you're developing that, bringing your operations together, day-to-day support of your emergency, including your staff of certain Citizen Corps positions, and then you're promoting that whole community engagement to your community. Training, that's a big one. Should be fostering the development of community-oriented approach to emergency management at that community level, strengthening best practices, providing a path towards sustainable resilience. Exercise, you can use the funding as well for exercises. As we know, if we train people, we have to also then go back and help them use that training. So you can use the grant for exercise funds to design it, to develop it, conduct it, and then do an evaluation of that as well. Funds can also be used for equipment. Allowable equipment is on that AEL list. So that is available on the grant budget section of the application. I know it's a FEMA.gov. I did check this morning. The site is still up for the equipment list. And you will have to make sure that on that equipment list, it does say that it is good for Division of Emergency Management grants. So we want to make sure that that is on that list. And then we're going to talk about how that funding objectives can also be management and administration. This is activities that are directly relating to management and administration of your program, financial management, monitoring, that kind of thing. The M&A costs, because I know some of you have asked me about this directly, it cannot exceed 5% of the total grant. So if you're going again for the $10,000, that 5% is $500. That's 10%, isn't it? Sorry. Yes. So you want to make sure that you're looking at that M&A cost for only 5% of your proposed budget. Okay. Now, prioritization of our funding. Each completed application will be evaluated, and it will have a multi-stage process. And we'll look at what you're using, what you're asking for, and then what's your fiduciary responsibilities in that application. So we'll have staff review and preparation, and then stage 2 of the grant involves evaluation. And so who's going to be looking at the applications? Volunteer Florida, Division of Emergency Management, state emergency response teams. We've got several people out there that's going to be looking at these applications and grading them. And then this will be through a competitive review process and scoring criteria identified in your NOFO. That is the Notice of Funding Opportunity. That Notice of Funding Opportunity, if you have not had a chance to look at it, is on our Volunteer Florida website. It is when you go into grantees and use grants that are open and then go into the CERT tab. It is at the top, that first green link that says to see the current NOFO, which is the Notice of Funding Opportunity. So you can open that up. It is a PDF document. Fatal criteria. This is important. So proposals will not be reviewed for funding unless all of the following criteria are met. The proposal was submitted in Blackbaud. We'll talk about that in just a moment on the online portal. And it has to be received to us by May 6th. You can fill it out this week. You can do it next week. You don't have to wait until May 6th to do this. I don't recommend actually waiting till the last date because none of us here at Volunteer Florida have control over the opening and closing of this. The Blackbaud system will automatically close at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so make sure that you got your proposals in. Very importantly, when you are submitting the application, do not just save and make sure you're hitting the submittal. You will get an email back that says your application has been submitted. It's a confirmation email. If you do not get that confirmation email, go back in your application and submit again. Your proposal, your application, it's got to include basically a completed application, a supporting documentation. What this is a letter of support or acknowledge from your corresponding emergency management office. So unless you are the emergency management, so I'm looking in the chat, there's a couple of emergency management agencies on here. You then would not need a letter for yourself. But if you are a municipality or a CERT team within your community, you will have to have that letter of support from your emergency management to apply. Also, when you go to do your program budget, we have given in the application a template to use. You've got to use that template for your proposed budget. If anybody's having problems with any of those, I need you to reach out to me. If you do not include all supporting documentation, then you will not be, your proposal will not be reviewed. So hopefully that is pretty clear. We'll go to questions in a moment. On your budget. So let's talk about what makes a good budget and what we're looking for. Grantees. Again, remember that this is a cost reimbursement grant. So grantees are required to provide 100% in-kind or cash match. So what this means, obviously, is that you can use volunteer hours towards that match. So that's how you can do this and do this effectively. Our volunteer hour right now in the state of Florida is at $33 an hour. I'm looking daily at the independent sector to see if that goes up. We are anticipating here in the month of April for it to go up, and I will put that out as a change as soon as it is available. But right now, you're going to put that at a $33 value per hour. After the notice of award, the Volunteer Florida will provide a clarification on your feedback. So if you've got a proposed budget to us and there's something that either is not allowed or we have questions about it, then clarification will go back to you. Again, that's only those that get through and you have been approved for the grant, then you will get that notice of award. Again, I want to make this note on here. It's the discretion of Volunteer Florida basing on the amount of funding that we get and availability priorities that we may do less. If you ask for 10,000 and we have wonderful grantees, we may do 5,000. At this point, Again, we are putting out $100,000 in grants, like I said at the very beginning. Okay. Okay, other requirements for this grant, and this is super important. We have quarterly reporting every 3 months, and we also have financial reporting. Let's start at quarterly reporting. To be successful as a sub-grantee, we ask again that you put in your quarterly reports via our online portal, which is the Blackbot account. Those performance measures will ask for volunteers, how many classes that you've done, trainings, what is the outcome of community outreach? So do you have how many people you've reached out to? The number of hours that you've had for volunteers served in your community. We love personal stories, testimonies, pictures are required. The reason I'm asking for these things is number one, we want to know what you're using your grant for. And then number two, I get to brag on all of you. So we like to have those stories. Financial reporting. Let's go into that one. Successful subgrantees will report to the Volunteer Florida on a quarterly basis on the submission of a Volunteer Florida periodic expenditure report, which is what we call a PER. And appropriate supporting documentation of expenditures and match of the Volunteer Florida invoice submission portal, which is what we call Laserfish. With that being said, we will be having a financial reporting on the 20th, and they'll go into more depth on what that looks like. But I want to go ahead and tell you that when you submit that invoice, you also have the supporting documents of how it was paid. They'll go into that in greater detail on the 20th. Volunteer Florida has 40 days to reimburse you as an organization as long as everything is correct and no clarifications is needed or supporting documentation. Awarded grantees will be required to attend this periodic expense report training and Laserfish training after we have the awards in. This will probably be in June that you'll be required to have that training for the July start of the grant. Okay, this is a really important slide. This shows you your deadlines. So you can see where we are up there at the technical assistance webinar in the 8th. Again, on the 10th, we'll have this on our website. Technical assistance financial webinars on the 20th, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The technical assistance financial post will be 2 days later on our website. And then you can see I put it in red, put a big arrow, May 6th. That is the deadline for this application to be in our portal via Blackbot. Then our grant review period is going to be where we look at all the applications from May 7th to the 20th. And then we have everyone review those applications. So then on the 22nd, we should have posted by close of business on the Volunteer Florida website the award of who will be awarded within our state. And then we'll go into budget clarifications. And then, of course, the anticipated contract starts July 1st. I'm not sure why the Y got chopped off. Sorry about that, guys. So then, anyway, technical assistant responses for this webinar will be posted on our site. So, special consideration. Again, if you have never written a Volunteer Florida grant with us for CERT Citizen Corps, you've never gone through that clarification period, you don't know what I'm talking about when I say supporting documentations, please, please, please mark April 20th on your calendar. Our financial team will be here and they'll be going through and doing this call. You do not have to register and you can access it through that Teams link on the Volunteer Florida site, just as you found the one for this one. And it's also on the NOFO. So I know that was a lot. I'm going to leave this screen right here for just a second for anybody that wants to take a picture of it or save it. That is our financial webinar, technical webinar date, the 28th at 2. And then let's go right into questions because I know that there's got to be questions. So is there any in our chat? And okay. I don't think I see any in chat. So if you have a question, go ahead and yep, Irene.
In regards to the equipment, there's a special category that we can only use, correct?
Yes, you're gonna go into the AEL list and you're gonna ask and look for those that will work with the Division of Emergency Management.
Okay.
It's the FEMA AEL list. So right now, I'm not sure if FEMA's site is up, but it would be the FEMA and it's under the EMPG funding.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yep. Okay, Jim.
Yes, ma'am. So in one of the earlier slides or beginning slides, you'd said something about being a 5013C and not being eligible. We're Eastlake CERT and we have a 5013C. Does that not make us eligible?
You have to go through your sponsoring agency.
Okay, so we just need to go through the fire department then.
Go through your sponsoring agency. Yes.
Yep. All right, that'll do it. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Jim. Okay, Irene.
So if you're applying for the CERT grant and then the Citizens Corps grant, what have other municipalities used that for, where you split it like that?
So we have a current grantee right now that is running their fire corps off of the Citizen Corps grant. They have a fire corps team, and they're also using that for their first aid, CPR, AED training with their Citizen Corps program. And so that's what they're running on that grant, on the Citizen Corps grant. And then their CERT grant is the other grant. But there is, if you go to the website, and when I said in the NOFO, it explains all of that. Like, this is what Citizen Corps is, this is what the CERT is, right on the NOFO.
So Citizen Corps is a wider umbrella. So a lot of organizations prefer that because it gives them a little bit more flexibility, whereas CERT is more narrow on just that CERT program. So some of those examples, there's a lot more that off the top of our heads right now we can't come up with, but it is all in the NOFO. And if you go to the FEMA website, it'll explain exactly what Citizen Corps and CERT and what the differences are as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. These are great questions. Anybody else have a question? We're just making sure we're getting through both screens of the listings.
No, stop.
Okay, Miss Irene, go ahead.
Sorry. So in the beginning, you were talking about there's a lap over in both grant periods.
Yes.
And
Yes, ma'am.
documenting involvement, I guess, for those things. I'm concerned about that because that's not an expectation when we applied last time, right, that we have to do that. So right. I'm just expressing concern on that.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's actually great concern. And let me go over that. So basically what we're saying is if you've got events and you haven't met that volunteer match, because I know that with your grant specifically, you have a volunteer match, or if you're a grantee on here that you're buying things, right, to meet that match, you cannot put that towards this current year, which is the 25-26 grant, and put that towards the 26-27 as a equal match. You have to pick one grant year. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, if you have that grant and you are going and doing an event, you cannot do the reporting on your quarterly saying, I did this event at the community center for my CERT team on the grant for 25-26, and then put that same event and same volunteer hours on your 26-27. We know that first quarter is always that building, right? you have a lot going on, you're trying to order things, so we know that they're going to look very different. You're going to have a fourth quarter that you're finishing up a grant with. So you just need to make sure you're reporting accordingly. Does that make sense, Irene?
Yeah, it does. I guess I'm gonna have to see it in action when I.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, Irene. You know, a lot of times in that first quarter, our grantees don't even have any spin down. So if you hadn't, because you planned out this past year and you weren't anticipating more money till August or until September, you could just report to us that you have no spin down in that first quarter and ensure that you're going to meet that 50% by the third quarter if that overlap's going to be difficult. For other grantees who now have an overlap and now can find a way to spend that money with the separate grants, we just need to ensure that it's all separated, particularly those match hours as well.
Okay.
Okay, so Danny, go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon. Hey, just a quick question. I know for the overlapping of the grants, so the one we have with emergency management for Helene with the county, is this, because this will be with Taylor County CERT, is that going to be separate or will we fall into that? These are both.
Those are completely different grants. So the overlap of grants, what we're talking about is the CERT Citizen Corps. The current NOFO goes all the way until the end of August. Yes. So the overlap would be if you were a current CERT Citizen Corps grantee, and we've got 14 of those, right now. So Danny, that would not affect you.
Just as a note though, Danny, you cannot use match for both. You cannot use the same match for both of those grants. So, but
Yes,
those are two separate grants. So that is from our Florida
Yes.
Disaster Fund. And then this is from our CERT program. So those are two different grants. Don't worry about the overlap in that capacity.
Perfect. I just want to clarify. Thank you.
Taylor, I see your hand up twice, so go right ahead.
Sorry. I on the FEMA grant, or excuse me, authorized equipment section, under other authorized equipment, they have something for equipment/citizen corps. Does that also count for CERT, or do we need to be looking somewhere else?
Certain items are very specific to CERT, so I can absolutely happy to go over that with you if you have specific questions, but that would be the CERT bags. You're not going to find a CERT kit, the green bags, hat, helmet, individually. So that would be the code for those bags. But if you go in and you look for, I need a first aid kit, then you would actually look on that AEL list for the first aid kit specifically.
Okay.
But yes, that's a great question.
Okay, and then follow up to that for the CERT kits, does it matter what type of CERT kit we get, or if we have all the components that are relevant to our campus CERT, is how some are extensive? We would just explain that within our budget
Correct.
planned. Cool, thank you.
And I'll add, if you are selected for a grant, there is a budget clarification period. And so if you have put something down that isn't allowable, we can work with you on that. But in your application, you score higher, you do better when you do put eligible items. But if for some reason you put the wrong AEL or we need to make some changes and you are selected, that is something we will work with you on.
Awesome, thank you.
Danny, did you have another question?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, any other questions on the grant? Okay, so while we have no questions, I want to go ahead and do one more thing with you all because we had some questions. So he's going to share the screen again. Right here, I want to just kind of walk through this really quickly. Get on the mouse for a second. So you can access our application at thevolunteerflorida.org, and I'm going to click on that, and hopefully will that share that? Yes, okay. Can everyone see the volunteerflorida.org page? Okay, great. You're going to go to grant opportunities. Okay. Then pull that over to CERT. And then you're going to go to the very bottom of the page where it says application submission and that green link right there that says this is our funding. Click on that. That is the portal that I need you all to use and apply for our grant. If you have not submitted or put in an application in the last year, 2025, then you will need to go ahead and create an account right here. If you put an application in 2025, then you'll have an email address within the portal. Okay, so very easy. You click on that create account and then pick how you're going to do it with your Apple, your email, however it is you're going to do and set up your account. Okay, but once you have that in that portal, which do I have mine? Let's see. Oh, no, I'm not on it. Never mind. So you would then put the email address in. That's going to go, and you're going to literally have where it'll say Blackbot on your left, and it'll have the application right in front of you. Okay. So if you have problems getting to this part, please don't hesitate to email me, give me a call, anything like that. So we're going to stop. Oh, no. Share again. Sorry. Okay. So right here, once again, click on the where I showed you the bottom, that link, and create an account. Any questions about getting to the application, creating an account, budgets, how this process works, sponsoring agencies, any of those questions? Great. Well, I want to just thank you all for coming. If you don't have any questions, then I don't want to prolong our training. We will have this training available on the Volunteer Florida website by Friday, close of business. So if you need to watch it again, you need to go through that link, know any of the questions, you can do so. I'm going to go back to my
Click onto that screen.
Oh, sorry. There we go. To the questions, you can go to my email and then send me an email. Happy to have all of you joining us, and guys have a great day.
You too. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.